Why do I say that? Well, let's examine the facts, the context in which we are discussing the nature and quality of leadership and the acquisition and exercise of its function. We live in a world still reeling in the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. A pandemic which exposed for all to see and for all of us to experience the fragility of both global supply lines and global health systems. A pandemic which saw a widening of the gap between the richest and the poorest of our world, between and within nations, and which was then followed by a conflict in Europe whose repercussions have spread way beyond the Ukraine and that continent and affect us all. 60% of workers today in our world have a lower real income than they had before the pandemic. 60% and rising of the poorest countries in the world are in a state of debt crisis or at real risk of it. And the latest figures from the World Food Programme suggest that as many as 309 million people are facing acute levels of food insecurity. For all, domestic food price inflation remains stubbornly high. There's no country in the world that has not experienced domestic food price inflation. The reality is that in both low and middle income countries, that's a phenomenon that is widely experienced, and higher energy costs, trade restrictions, and a loss of fertilizer supply from the Russian Federation and from Belarus have led to fertilizer prices rising even faster than food prices. Ask any farmer that. Ask any farmer that, and that is their experience. So the geopolitical situation, heightened tensions between competing superpowers, conflict in the Middle East, in the Horn of Africa, insurgencies in the Sahel, their impact on livelihoods compounded by the environmental impact of climate change, on the agri-sector, but also on at high-risk communities throughout the world through flooding and extremes of temperature. Extreme weather events that are affecting more and more people all over the planet.